But he tried, and it's not easy raising someone else's kids. And he was our dad as far as we were concerned. He actually legally adopted us. He had a lot of issues, but he absolutely hated to see someone being taken advantage of because they were in a weaker position. In other words, he hated a bully, and Donald was being a bully. When I was in the first grade, I rode a school bus with middle and high school students. There were a couple of kids who would bully me. When he found out, he confronted the bullies' dads, and it ended. Another time, I was in the third grade and driving somewhere with him in his pickup around town, and he saw two young teenagers destroying a bicycle that he assumed they had stolen. He stopped and confronted them with his big framing hammer, a Vaughan 16-ouncer. I have one like it in his honor. Years later, he broke my mom out of a mental institution by threatening the director or some doctor, I'm not sure, I was young, with that same hammer. Yes, we were a fun family. Anyway, when Sis calls him explaining that Donald is holding all of her possessions hostage and she doesn't know what to do, he tells her that he knows several Crips who would be happy to rough him up and wouldn't even want to be paid. They would do it for pleasure. Dad was very bothered that Donald was keeping his grandson's things from him and wanted to hurt Donald. Sis declines this offer. He then asks her what's the thing that he values most in this world. She responds, his car. His car at that point was a Porsche he had purchased new just a few years before. It wasn't quite the absolute entry-level model, but pretty close. Of course, he had all kinds of arguments about why it was actually better than the more expensive ones. Obviously, it was red. Dad was trying to come up with a way not only to get revenge, but to scare Donald enough to force him to give Sis back her things. Sis said she was fine with whatever he wanted to do if it got her belongings back, but wanted to make sure none of it could be traced back to her. Nothing happens until about a month later, and Donald calls Sis out of the blue, as if nothing had ever happened, and asks, hey, when would you like to come get your things? How about this Saturday? Evidently, he had some change of heart that is unexplained to this day. She said, sure. She didn't trust him, so she didn't want to go alone. She was able to get a male friend to go with her. She gets a U-Haul and just picks up her stuff and gets out. That very evening, she tried several times to call Dad to let him know that she'd got her things back and all was well. No need for any drastic measures. But it was too late. The wheels had been set in motion. He never answers the phone. Remember, this is pre-cell phone days, so when you're not at home, you don't answer. Sis calls Mom, who was living separately from Dad for a time, it's complicated, telling her she can't reach Dad. Mom says Dad is sick, and that's probably why he's not answering his phone. At 11:30 p.m., Sis gets a call from Donald's girlfriend who asks her, what are you doing? Sis replies, I'm at home in bed. Why? She responds, someone just blew up Donald's car. Sis's heart drops. She obviously knows who did it. The police ask Donald who would want to do this to him, and he answers Sis's name. So she becomes suspect number one. Sis asks girlfriend if Donald is scared. Girlfriend says yes, they are spending the night in a hotel. Fortunately, the call from girlfriend to Sis just a few minutes after the explosion gave Sis her alibi. Sis lived over 30 minutes away and could not have answered her home phone if she had been the one to ignite the bomb. The bomb did its job well. It turned the Porsche into an unrecognizable wreck, took out the adjacent car. The Porsche was parked at the end of the carport, so there was only one car parked next to it, and destroyed many feet of the carport above both cars. I'm guessing the tank in the Porsche was near full. Just after Sis gets off the phone, she calls Mom, telling her that someone blew up Donald's car, and she thinks it was Dad. While she's on the phone with Mom, another call comes in. Call waiting, a fancy feature in the days of landlines. It's Dad. He says mysteriously, there's a box outside your door, bring it in. You never talk to me tonight. Sis is a little afraid to open the box, but it turns out to be just some of her son's items that he had left with his grandpa, clothes and toys. Months later at Christmas, Sis asked Dad about it and he confessed. Turns out he really was very sick physically when he pulled that stunt. Sis was touched that he would go to so much effort and risk jail time for her, all while being ill. She asked him if he was scared driving back. He said yes, and that every headlight behind him he took to be a cop until he reached the state line. Sis found out from girlfriend that the cop said the job was very amateur, certainly not the work of professional, but hey, it did the job.